Hey everybody, it's time for Monday Musings again. I'm going to lift my camera up just a little bit. I'm going to show you that a tag that I made and a little bit of the things that I did to make it. I'm coming up a little bit close. See, I've got several layers of different things on here and several techniques. Whoa, here we go. I want you to see the edge there. And then on the back of it, I did a little more experimenting, so there's a little bit of some stuff on the back as well. So I'm going to lay it down now, and we'll talk about some of the things I did. So the first thing I did was I took a tag and gotta find one. Okay, here's one. It's got a little bit of stuff on it already, but not too much. And I did some experimenting. Oh, good. Here's some clean ones. Okay. With a Wendy Vecchi technique that she just developed. And I'm going to do a little bit of it here. And it is the adding the archival inks and the and alcohol together. Let me grab another. Here we go. Okay. I'm going to do it with Tea Rose, which is one of her new colors, and Tree Branch. And I'm just going to take the ink and add it to my craft sheet. I'm not really going to mix them together. I'm just kind of putting them next to each other. This is Tea Rose and Tree Branch. Then I'm going to take some alcohol. And I know it's sitting right here. Oh, it's right here. And I'm going to put some alcohol out on my sheet on top of the inks, kind of liberally. I'm going to take a palette knife. I can grab it out of the container over here. And I'm going to kind of mix that alcohol in with these inks. Now, Archival is an alcohol-based ink. I think I want a little more of the Tea Rose out there. Let's put some more down. And mix it in with the alcohol that I put there. Okay. Now I'm going to look for a paper towel. Alright. I'm going to take my tag and I'm going to just lay it in there and soak up all of that ink. And as you can see, I'm going to get some different looks, some marbling. Again, I want to put more Tea Rose out, so I'm going to do that. And add a little bit of alcohol to it. This is just plain old rubbing alcohol. I think in England it's called surgical spirits. Okay, so now I'm just going to lay it in the Tea Rose area so I can get more of that Tea Rose color on there. Okay, oh yeah, I like that. Looking good. Okay, so we've got that on there. Now this is alcohol ink, so when it dries it's going to be there permanently. So now I'm going to add another element. Let's see. First I want to clean out my nozzle here. This is a spray stain, Tim Holtz spray stain, and it is the Picket Fence. And I'm going to put some more ink down. Now if you have the re-inkers, you could do it that way. Sprinkle a little more alcohol again. Mix it in so we can make our ink into a liquid. Now, I'm going to spray the picket fence spray stain into it. See how it kind of congeals there? And now I'm going to put my tag back into it and press down. And when it comes back up, it's on the tag. And Wendy calls this a cracked plaster technique because it really does resemble that. And it just adds some texture in there. The spray stain, water-based distress spray stain, along with the alcohol, just does some really cool things to it. I'm adding some more. And when this dries, the stain will be reactive to water if you want to put some water on it. But the alcoholic basic background will not be. So that's what we've got. Okay, so I'm going to let that dry, kind of picking up some more of my ink, and I'm going to put a little bit of it on the back as well, just because I don't really like the backs of things to just be plain manila. So that's what we've got on the back. Sometimes you might end up liking the back more than the front. So I'm going to let that dry. And Wendy has some new embossing powders out. They are enamel embossing powders so that they come up with a gloss finish. But she has a way of manipulating that finish if you want to. Well, that's the part that I used on my square embellishments here, as you can see. Okay, see, there's a couple of different finishes there. So this is grunge board. I've been adding an art room because my son moved out and moving some things. So I found some stuff, and I found that I had an old package of grunge board sitting around. And these are blocks that were in it. So I decided to experiment, and then I ended up using 3 of my little experiments. So in order to get a granite look, which is this one, you use the archival ink, and you cover your surface in the ink. I'm doing it this way because it's small. You get a good inking on there. And this acts as your adherent to the embossing powder. And let's see, I had some coffee filters sitting around here. Can't find them, so I'll just use a piece of paper. I'm going to hurry before that ink dries. And I'm going to sprinkle the ink, sprinkle the ink, the embossing powder. I can't think what I want to say today. On there. And then I'm going to take another block, and I'm going to put Versamark regular embossing ink on there. And you can use any regular embossing ink. And I'm going to wet it here with it. And then I'm going to cover it with the embossing powder. Okay, so we have 2 inks used on these identical blocks. Same embossing powder. So what I'm using is the Tea Rose. Yep. So now I'm going to heat these powders. This is the one that I use the archival ink on. Notice that there are some places that are heavily covered and some places that are not. That's because some places the ink dried and some places it didn't. And it's a matte finish. Okay, now let's heat this one. The one I used the Versamark on. And this one is shiny. It's much more it's much more consistent. It's more opaque. See the difference? This is in the ink, not in the powder. Same powder, different inks, different looks. So say you wanted to cover a large surface, you could use both the Versamark and the alcohol inks, the archival inks, not alcohol ink, archival ink, on different areas of it, and then come out with different finishes for a worn look or a vintage look. So I think this is really fun to do. So that's what I did with I was experimenting. I used sky blue and the sky blue embossing powder. I used one using the archival ink and one using the regular Versamark ink. And then this one is using the Versamark ink because I still have the one that with the archival ink. This is like the granite ware type, this one and this one. And this is the regular embossing type. So the other things I used on this tag were some of Tim Holtz rub-ons. I used, let's see, which one did I use? Well, I also used the Carnation Red ink, archival ink, and Tim Holtz's Heart Stencil on my background. To make my background here, I used the same technique as I just showed you with this one, and I used the Carnation Red and the Red Geranium along with my white spray stain. Then I also put a little bit of tumbled glass spray stain over it. So you can see it just a little bit here, I think. Yeah, maybe not. I don't know, but it's there. Just a little bit. Because I wanted to tie it in the blue. And then I sprayed a little more of the stain on. It's because I wanted a little more white over it. I used the rub-ons. Let's see if I can find which rub-on I used. Oh, I know which one it is. Got to find it. Over here. It's the botanical one. And of course, oh, there it is. I set it out so that I wouldn't have to look for it. How's that? So it's this one. And it's the botanical remnant rub. And I also used the industrial, some of the industrial stickers, and I used an Ideology arrow, On the back, I used that heart stencil, and this is my favorite white ink. It's mixed media, and the color is, it's white, but it's called Jasmine. So it's extremely juicy. It takes a long time to dry, so you're going to have to heat dry it when you use it, and don't touch it for a while. And let's see, some lace, and then I spritzed it with my tumbled glass stain. I just spritzed right onto the lace, and it turned out really pretty. Nice pale blue. This is an epoxy heart that I used. I used this little machine. I'm not sure you can still get them, but I used this little machine and then the epoxy hearts, and I just put a piece of red paper in there, the epoxy heart on top, and then just stamped it out, and I glued it on. And I think that's all I've got on here. Oh no, one more thing. These red edges right here, those are I took the Versamark embossing ink, and I took it and I rubbed it just here and there on my edges, and then I used the red geranium embossing powder over top of those edges and heated it, and so then it gives you that randomness around the edges. So here is my tag, my Valentine's tag, and I wish you all a happy Valentine's Day, and I'll see you next week.